Hi there guys, my name is Jacob and welcome to my channel. So I hear it all the time these days that young people just don't want to work anymore. I hear young people are lazy, young people don't know what the meaning of hard work is. And I guess while that may be true for some people, as a general statement, I don't believe that to be true. Now, I'm a young person, I'm 31 years old, but I certainly wouldn't class myself as lazy or work shy or scared of getting my hands dirty. But I would say that I too don't want to work for the rest of my life. And that is something that I feel like the younger generation feels as a general statement, that we all don't want to work for the rest of our lives. And I believe there are fundamental reasons for that. And that is what I'm going to go over in this video. Now, the reasons I have are not in any particular order, but I believe they are all contributing factors to the feeling of not wanting to work for the rest of your life. Now, reason number one is the difference between what we get paid and what things cost to buy. Now, this is something that everybody in society feels, but I definitely think it affects younger people more, and I'm going to explain why. Wages have been stagnant, especially in the UK, for a long time, but prices certainly haven't been. And when you look at things like housing, the cost of housing just keeps going up and up and up. And if you're a young person who is not yet on the housing ladder, well then the cost of buying a house is one hell of a daunting prospect. And when you look at wages and how much you have to save out of your wage, as well as living, it almost seems like an impossible task. Now, couple that with food prices going up, services going up, entertainment costs, all those types of things. The difference between wages and the things we have to buy is without doubt a reason why people feel disincentivized to actually want to go to work hard, because people don't feel it's worth it. People feel that they are getting the bad end of a deal. And I would argue they're probably right. If you don't feel like you're earning enough from your job where you can live, a comfortable life, or at least the life you have envisioned for yourself, it is really difficult to keep yourself motivated to want to keep going to work and to see the light at the end of the tunnel and to tell yourself that yes, this is worth it. Because if you don't feel like you're getting ahead from the work you're putting in, you do start to question it and you start to ask yourself, well, is it worth it? And that is a fundamental reason as to why people don't feel like they want to work anymore. Now, second reason is feeling valued. And again, this is coupled with reason number one of the wages, but feeling valued, especially by your employer, is something that, to be honest, these days is almost non-existent. Speaking from experience, I can tell you I work for a very large company, and I guess this does come with working for a larger company, but feeling valued in the modern world is almost non-existent when it comes to employers. And yet you could argue that that is because I work for a company that has thousands of employees, and how could they possibly value each and every employee? But if something happened to me tomorrow, I would just be replaced. And that is just something that is the cold, hard truth. I am essentially just a part in a machine that if it breaks down, they just swap it out and the machine keeps on moving. And that is very difficult for young people to accept, that is how the working world works these days. I mean, if you go back a number of decades, companies definitely valued loyal employees far more than they value them today. And that is shown through things such as good pensions that companies used to give out. Sometimes people would get to the end of their careers and then they would get, a gift at the end of it, a salaried pension, things like that. Things that made you feel like something was worth working towards. But these days, there's nothing like that. If you want a good pension, well, the only person who's going to provide that for you is you in a private pension. Companies don't give out those type of things anymore. And that really speaks volumes to younger people in terms of feeling undervalued. And if you don't feel valued, then you don't really want to put in your heart and soul and all the effort that it takes to do some jobs, because it comes back to the point of, well, what is the point? Now, number 3 is definitely a big factor in why people feel a little disillusioned with the workplace these days, and that is the internet, and more importantly, what is available on the internet these days. And like me talking to you now, YouTube is a massive influence on younger people. So is TikTok, so is Instagram, and all those type of things. And I guess the influencer life and what people perceive is an influencer life has a massive impact on how young people think and perceive the working world. And I can understand that. I mean, I myself have not made any money from YouTube because my channel simply isn't big enough. This for me is just a hobby. I have a day job alongside this. But a lot of people see influencers online and think, that's what I want to do. It's hard to look at somebody who does a really difficult, dirty job out on the street, getting paid, not very much, and pointing at them and saying, that's what I want to do. But it's not hard to look at somebody living what you perceive is this dream life online and think, yeah, that's what I want to aim for. But ultimately, not everyone can be an influencer. Not everyone can live that life. And it certainly doesn't work out for many people. The people that you watch online that are, hugely successful are most definitely part of, a very small minority who it works for. But that doesn't mean you can't achieve it. But it might not be as realistic as maybe you'd like it to be. But without a doubt, the internet has a big part to play in why people feel the way they do. Now, the final point I've got as to why I think younger people don't really want to work anymore, or at least feel disillusioned with the workplace, is because, quite frankly, the future that young people can see ahead of themselves, to be honest, looks pretty bleak. And if you watch the news, if you read things online, it is, part of the world that we live in now, that, news from all over the world is accessible. And yes, it does look like a pretty bleak outlook. If you look at the climate crisis, if you look at the cost of living crisis that we've been living through recently, the pandemic, all these different things just create this negative bubble that if you consume it, and let's be honest, young people live on the internet, they live online, they are on their phones 24/7, and they see all this stuff and consume it regularly. And it does leave you, if you do consume all that stuff, it does leave you with this negative outlook and the kind of mindset of, well, what is there to work towards? Because it seems like the world as we know it, the economy, the climate, everything is just crumbling around us. Now, whether that is true or not is, of course, up for debate, but I can understand why younger people may feel that way. And to some respect, I have felt that way in the past. And touching on the pandemic, I also think that has a massive part to play in why people feel like they don't want to be slaves to the workplace anymore. And why do I think that? Well, to be honest, COVID gave a lot of people a small slice of freedom from being chained to a desk in a office block or that type of thing, because we all got forced to work from home. And some of us, like myself, are still working from home now, and that is purely brought on by the pandemic. But obviously some people have worked from home and then been forced back to the office. But that transition, once you have felt what that independence and what that slice of freedom actually feels like, it is so difficult to then be pulled back, kicking and screaming, back to the office where you don't want to be anymore. You've realised what the other side of it looks like. And going back just feels like something you either don't want to do or, not something you want to do for a prolonged period of time. So I definitely think the pandemic has had a huge impact on mindsets. Since the pandemic, I've seen so many articles, YouTube channels pop up where people have drastically changed their lives, whether they've quit their jobs, whether they've sold up and moved house, they've just drastically changed their lives, all because of what COVID brought to their life. And it gave them almost like a wake-up call. And and a second chance at life, where they'd gone down a certain path because maybe they'd been told that was the right thing to do. But somewhere along the way through COVID, they'd had a little bit of an awakening and realised there was more to life than the path they'd chosen. And I think that's admirable. And I think a lot of people now have seen that type of thing and regularly see it online. And again, think that for themselves. There is more to the life I'm living now. And they want something different. And ultimately, that's what I think it comes down to. Young people not wanting to work anymore is not anything to do with them being lazy or scared of hard work or anything like that. It is just purely they want something different for their lives. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I truly believe I fall into that category too. I don't want to work for the rest of my life like my dad did, like my mom did, like my granddad did. I want something different from my life. And I hope that, by putting in the hard work and creating a channel like this, that potentially I'll be able to get that something different. But as I said before, you will only get it if you put in the hard work and you chase your dreams. But what do you guys think? Do you think young people are scared of hard work? Or do you think there's, a deeper meaning to it all? And do you think actually some of the reasons I've said are, valid reasons as to why people don't want to work anymore? But let me know down in the comments below. Click the like button, hit that subscribe button too. And guys, I will catch you in the next one.